super Halloween lady. Like I decorate the house.
Well, what's your favorite thing about Halloween then, beyond decorating the house?
Beyond the decorating the yard and the trick-or-treating and everything, like for me, it's either like witches or zombies. Probably zombies. Like I don't know. I just love zombies. I love zombie movies. I think they're the scariest ones.
Yeah, mine, I think my favorite horror thing is like either the scale economy or the free market. I haven't decided yet. But I do have one thing in common with you, which is I love scary stories.
Yeah.
And you like zombies, you said, right?
Yes, I love zombies.
I got a story for you.
Okay.
All right. So story number
excited.
1 in our Halloween special, it's zombie workers.
Zombie workers. All right, let me have it.
All right. So I was checking out this article about how AI-generated work slop is here, and it's killing teamwork, and it's causing actually a multi-million-dollar productivity problem. And here's some points that sort of drew my attention. First of all, for those not in the known, here in Slop World, we focus a lot on Slop, and work slop is defined as AI-generated work that basically is cosplaying, for the lack of a better word, as work, but it's actually, like ChatGPT loves to say, just fluff. And apparently, Kate is taking over corporate America.
Yeah.
And I got some numbers, Kate, if you're interested.
I love numbers.
All right, so a survey from BetterApp and Stanford found that 40% of people say they have received work slop in the last month. And these employees estimate that on average, 15% of the content they receive, I love they're calling it content, from colleagues qualifies as slop. I got some questions, so remember this one because I have a couple of questions for you. I have more stuff.
Yeah.
This gets even scarier.
Give it to me.
All right, so people say they spend an average of 1 hour and 56 minutes dealing with the aftermath.
Yeah.
And that causes a roughly, per person, $186 invisible tax per month. Based on salaries that we can see on Glassdoor.com, etc.
So it's almost like what the promise of AI is, which is to make you more efficient. It's actually doing the opposite.
It's actually doing the opposite, and there's more.
Even more?
There's even more.
Keep it coming.
Because this is a Slop World, your #1 party podcast. So what happens is that there's even an emotional toll on workers.
Stop.
An emotional toll, yes. 53% of recipients report feeling annoyed. 38% feel confused. I definitely empathize with them. And 22% are offended by receiving work slop because it feels like basically more work is being dumped on them. So my #1 question for you, Kate, is why is the slop making its way into corporate America? And is it revolutionizing as much as we were promised?
Very good question. Love the stats. Not surprised by any of them. I think, at least in my experience, right, consulting with companies over the past 2 years about how to learn how to work with AI and how to bring it into your organization strategically, none of this surprises me because I think, at least we know from other surveys, that training is a really big issue here. People are being given this technology and not being given the keys to unlock it, right? Not being taught how to use it to create efficiency as opposed to create slop that you then pass down the chain to all the people who are going to have to look at it and read it and deal with it in your company on down.
Okay, but Kate, help me figure this out because it's not making sense to me. Why are we doing this to ourselves, right? There's so much focus on scale, productivity, making more money. I remember, I think it was Mark Zuckerberg talking to Meta's Metaverse team, in which basically, and it's a small team and apparently it's struggling. But again, don't quote me on that. But they are expected to multiply by 5 their output using AI or else. So it seems to me that it's not really achieving that. So I'm just confused.
Okay, so let's bring it into real world terms, okay? So if you ask ChatGPT, for example, write me an email to these recipients that covers these topics and gives this information, is the natural output going to be extensive or concise? Pop quiz. What do you think GPT is going to do? Extensive or concise?
I'll take extensive
That
for
is
$100.
correct. These, because, as we've talked about in the past, because LLMs have been trained to please, they want to not miss anything. So they're going to give you TMI. They basically just output TMI. Too long, didn't read. Like, that's their MO. And the thing is that people who aren't experienced with prompting, who just think that that's good enough, are just going to like hit send on that, as opposed to in their prompt saying, this is for executive consumption. Please make it bullet point friendly, clear, and concise, right? And those are the types of nuances of prompting that if you just add that sentence to everything, or if you create your own GPT that's like exec friendly email writer that is always very concise, you're going to save yourself the time. But what you're doing by not learning and not understanding how to prompt correctly is that you're passing the work down the chain to other people in your organization. This has everything in it. So that person on the other end of this email needs to take 10 minutes to read it all so that they can respond to me, which isn't fair. And I think it's also a case in like automation. So not just like using LLMs, but also using tools like Workato or Make.com or Zapier to like put different tools together and automate things that happen at your company, automate tasks. But if you don't think about like, okay, well, does the person on the other end need to receive 30 emails a week from me? Then you're not really saving time as a whole. You're saving time for yourself, and then you're kicking the can down the road to the next person down the chain who has to deal with your crappy output. So I think that's kind of like the way I frame it, is that it's really a learning problem. It's really an education problem about how to leverage the technology.
All right, we have an education problem now. Many folks watching this podcast are basically, I would say, beginner to intermediate. So we tend to think, one thing I keep hearing is this cat is out of the bag thing. Now, my question to you as a business strategist and someone that helps companies find their North Star is, can we get that cat in the bag?
No, we absolutely cannot get the cat back in the bag.
What do we do?
Well, I think that workforce training is big. I mean, obviously, I'm a little bit biased because I run a workforce training company. So call me. But I think that also the other thing is that workforce training is happening backwards, right? And this is, fundamentally like how I build out my offering and what I think is kind of not really clicking in the business world. There's something about the traditional way of like delivering knowledge to a group of people. It's usually a lecture, someone talking, right? Or a video of someone talking, or worst case scenario, a video of an avatar created by AI of someone talking. And then you listen to that and you absorb information, maybe make some notes, and then you have a quiz at the end, right? That says, did you learn anything? And that's the way that our learning processes generally work in the Western world. And it doesn't work for AI. And here's why. It's a personal journey, and you only learn it when you roll up your sleeves and you do it. So you have to begin to play with the technology to work on prompting to see what you get and then try again in a different way and sort of be guided through the process in order to get to a place where you're creating value as opposed to creating more work for other people. So, I mean, maybe over the course of time we'll get there, but the cat's not going back in the bag. LLMs are pretty much here to stay. I think that my fear is that they're going to become sidelined because nobody takes the time to really figure out how to use them and how much value you can extract out of them. And they just say, oh, this is just helps me write long, boring emails, and shove it to the side and keep doing business as usual. The companies who figure out how to get the value out of it are the ones that are going to succeed.
All right, I think I have a solution actually, Kate, and I'm going to share it for free with everyone, including yourself.
Okay.
I won't bill you, which is we should all have a come to Jesus moment and accept, I don't want to write, you don't want to read. Let's just communicate in one sentence. Get to the point. I don't know if you saw The Office, but Kevin from The Office had a really good takeaway, which is, I think, don't quote me on it, but why use a lot of words is few words do the trick. I think that's how we need to implement it.
I agree. I've had experiences at companies that I've worked at where, they had this sort of like, if it's an internal person, don't put, "Hi, Juan. Hope you're doing well today. I have something I'd like to share with you," and then put a link, right? Because nobody needs that preamble to an email. You understand it's from me. You understand I work at the same company as you. You probably know what I'm talking about when you get the email. Mm-hmm. So just less context and just make sure it's clear. Maybe these LLMs with their flowery language and their long verbose explanations of things with all the data points you might need are actually taking us away from what we've already figured out, which is less is more.
That's such a deep takeaway, Kate, that I'm afraid to continue the conversation because I think we peaked with this excellent takeaway. But
okay,
now that we sort of had this horror story, which in a way gives me a hopeful message, I don't really like to walk away with an optimistic outlook.
Well, how about something a little pessimistic?
My favorite.
I brought one for you. So listen, I'm going to talk about an article, which is an article about a tweet. So let's just set the stage that we're going to talk about a tweet right now.
I'm already feeling anxious.
Okay, let's get into it. So there was a tweet by Sam Altman. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, makers of ChatGPT.
Is he the CEO? Have we finally figured out his role?
He is the CEO.
Let us know in the comments because I think this is a recurring thing I have on Google.
Sam, just let us know if you're the CEO or what. Because I think Greg Brockman's the president now. Let's get into it. So Sam tweeted that he thinks the dead internet theory may be coming true. The dead internet theory is basically a theory that most online conversations, posts, and engagements are no longer from people, but bots and AI simulating humanity, creating a web that looks alive but is actually hollow. Now, in the conspiracy theory version of this, there's people who are making that happen on purpose, which you can subscribe to or not subscribe to. But I think overall, the very fact that more and more of the internet is being made by bots is maybe self-evident. So I want to ask you, first of all, let's clear the air, because to me, this tweet feels a little bit tongue-in-cheek, he's almost kind of joking a little bit maybe the dead internet theory is real, right? Do you think it's real? And do you think that it is created by people on purpose or just happening?
Oof, what a question, Kate. Always a softballs for me. Thank you. What I think when I think about the dead internet theory, I've seen online, I don't know if we said it here, it's a conspiracy. And usually I tend to not entertain those because experience has shown me that life is dumber than that, and you cannot even get people to run autocorrect, much less coordinate a gigantic conspiracy through 5 continents. I do think this is by design, though. Like you said, it does feel like we have a lot of bots. For example, actually, I don't know if you knew, but ever since we started this podcast, we get so many emails a day from people that say, "Juan and Kate, I really enjoy your insights on Tilly Norwood," and, kind of paraphrasing whatever ChatGPT saw of the episode.
Oh, those are bots?
4 paragraphs of slop that no one reads.
There you go.
So, dear bot, if you're watching this, which I know you're not, please get a clue. So, what I do think is this is by design, but not as a conspiracy to control population. I think it's easier. It's just basically social media. What we've seen is it runs an engagement, right? To me, this feels like an evolution of clickbait. Before, it was you will not believe it. Click here. Now it's we cannot even wait for the click. We're going to shove it in your face everywhere. And these bots, if you see them, they're usually kind of trying to build engagement, right? At the end of the day, is we build engagement, like we've discussed many times, because we want eyes. The more time people spend on a platform, the more ads they see. The more ads they see, the more technically they buy. So I would say it's just business as usual to me, but it does have an impact on the internet as we know it or we knew it. What's your take?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that anybody's doing it on purpose for some sort of dark evil, goal. But I do think that it's happening because it's cheap, easy, right? Like anything that's cheap and easy, people will gravitate towards. People are lazy. Yes, even you and I. If there's an easier way to do something, you will do it.
That's true, actually.
Right?
But I think we still take it very seriously, even when taking shortcuts, because we're the good guys, like Sam Altman.
Fine. But I think it is happening. But here's my second question for you, which I think gets more at kind of the nugget of the tweet, right? Does Sam Altman have a vested interest in the internet dying? The old internet, the internet that was a flourishing community of people connected by tubes, right? That social media being a connection to your friends and not synthetic people or ads, that articles were being written by journalists and editorial was being written by voices of people that had a POV and not just sort of slop and clickbait articles out there written by machines. Was his tweet intentional because for him, the dead internet works better for his goals than the internet of the past?
I'm going to say neither.
Oh.
Here's why. I think, I've been thinking a lot actually about the internet is a topic that comes a lot in conversations with fellow friends. Please don't hit us. We're passionate about this, right? First of all, we have sort of like everything with time glorified the old internet. Mm-hmm. Because again, I was there, you were there. It was a lot of fun. Tumblr, LiveJournal, all of that for us emo kids, at least this emo kid. It was our lifeblood. But also, we had the scaling of scams, doxing,
yes,
revenge, photography. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that were wrong, right? There was also this sense of community, the web rings. I remember that time. It was excellent, like the late 90s, early 2000s, until 2008 maybe. But I think like everything, like cities, the internet evolves, right? Just like cities went from those mom and pop shops to like a big corporation that it's sort of like sterile. Yeah. They all feel the same now. You don't even see people. Same thing with the internet, but also I think there's always going to be humanity. Sure, there's a lot of slop, and I think it was already there when you were going to have you ever looked for recipes online?
Yes.
Wasn't it frustrating that you would have to go through 10 paragraphs before you got to the actual recipe?
There's at least 10 scrolls at the finger before you get to the ingredients.
Because of CEO, whatever. So I feel here it's the same, but also what I see, it's a race of, and again, don't get me wrong, it's gonna ruin the internet. Most people will get just content that it's not accurate or just awful, and that's gonna be kind of like the fast fashion, the fast food content. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to have communities like a WhatsApp chat, a Discord, a Slack channel, different things made by humans in which we sort of go back to that one-on-one connection we used to have. So I think Sam Altman's interest is the same of every company, right? We need to make money. How do we make more money? We are burning capital. We need to show some kind of result. So if adult chatbots don't do it, they'll come up with a new pivot, right? They're just trying to make money, so they'll do whatever needs to be done to make money.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you that it's neither pro or con for Sam and the leadership of these big AI companies. I like what you said about that there's going to be this resistance of people who have something to say, who find forums where they can talk about those things, like a Reddit or equivalent. But that I feel like, and especially with my lens on marketing and media, I feel like there's a big risk that the internet just sort of the fabric of the internet disappears altogether, because everyone will be getting their information via a chatbot. So actually eyeballs on content on the internet is eroding, and we're seeing that erode very much in Google search, for example, where they're eroding it for themselves, but a 60% decrease year over year in actually people clicking on the search result, right? Who's going to read an article unless they care about journalism, but who's going to read an article when the bot just summarizes it for you, right? And so the content that entertains us will probably still find its eyeballs, but the information delivery content will go through a third party, that bot that's going to read it, summarize it, add it to whatever, research report we have, and that a whole section of the internet's going to bottom out.
Okay, so if I'm hearing correctly what you say, and actually you reminded me, Wikipedia lost a bunch of traffic. I can't remember the number, but if you're watching it on video on YouTube, we'll have B-roll here showing the article. Wikipedia is hemorrhaging traffic.
I did hear that, yeah.
For those of us that are Wikipedia babies, that's very sad. So donate to Wikipedia if you can. But one thing that I want to ask you is, it seems to me like you're saying our consumption of information will go through a centralized hub with the best interest. So do you see any way in which this could backfire?
What are you getting at?
Just having all your information go through a central hub with a vested economic interest?
I mean, sure, but it has not been delivered to you without economic pressures upon it since Netscape, right? Like Google surfaces paid results first. You have always had like the thumb of enterprise on top of all the information that you get if you're outside of the academic system. So there's that. In terms of worldview, I think that's an interesting thing to think about. Does OpenAI, does ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, whichever your LLM of choice is, did they have inherently inside of the model some sort of a worldview that filters the information that you get? Will we be able to have levers that we can pull to assign our own worldview or a matching worldview to our LLM so that they filter the results for us? It gets complicated because then we're like delegating the filtering that our brains had been doing before to a robot for us. I don't know. I think the precursors of this are all there. Right? The precursors of what's happening are all there. There's an example of each of these things that exists in the marketplace, whether it's social media, Google search, right? All of that stuff. But yeah, it's a little bit intimidating when you think about that a robot stands in between you and the truth.
Wow, that's a very uplifting conclusion. Thank you, Kate.
You're welcome,
But-
as always.
But keeping in mind with the spirit of Halloween, I'm like, what's Halloween if not a celebration? And when I think a celebration, undoubtedly, I think the celebration of democratizing creativity in its most pure expression, which is AI Slop. And I brought some AI Slop.
Oh!
And it's Halloween themed.
It is? Okay, let's watch it. I
So
can't wait.
I'm going to send it to you as
Is
usual.
it creepy?
You tell me. We're about to find out.
All right, tell me when to push play. I'm a little nervous. I see this first frame. I'm not liking this. Let's go. Ready?
3, 2, 1. My kind of party.
Oh,
Look at the dog. It's a cute doggy.
Oh, God. There's something. Oh!
It's a Juggalos.
You know what it is about this? It feels 80s. It feels like the footage of my youth. It feels retro, and the colors and everything just feels like the world that I used to come from, but then all the fears that I had inside of me at that time. It's terrifying. I love it.
I love it. I think on the scale of 1 to 10, how many jungles do you think it's worth burning for this one? I would say 4.
Yeah. This
Couple
one
more
is
trees
definitely
on top.
worth it. No, I'm sure they didn't burn jungles. I mean, the calculation of how much water has not been finalized. On how much water or energy goes into making a video like that.
One thing we know is that every time we get a video like this, OpenAI is spending $5 per video.
There, see? That's good enough for me.
Reactivates economy. So with this happy takeaway, this is the end of our Halloween episode. Leave comments, like, that helps a lot. Hit subscribe. Goodbye, Kate.
Goodbye, Juan.